your host, Elona Lapari. I help companies scale their purpose and profits. And today I'm here with another amazing guest and another amazing conversation. And it's one of my favorite topics, financial freedom. We're going to talk about how to achieve financial freedom in record time with our amazing guest expert today, Adam Carroll. I hope that I didn't butcher your name incorrectly, Adam. But Adam is a four-time author, two-time TEDx speaker, founder of the fintech software, the Shred Method, and he helps people achieve financial freedom in record time using unconventional financial modeling. I love it. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. And I want to thank you ahead of time for your time today and also all the amazing value add that you will be able to provide for our audience today. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with you, Elona, especially because you describe your audience as legacy builders. And that's a big component of what we do, is all about the four legacies, which are financial freedom, time freedom, relationship freedom, and service freedom.
I love that. So we're so aligned, right? That's the reason why we get
Totally.
connecting and we're having this conversation because people that have a big vision, that want to do good in the world, they're always working on the principles, right? Things
Yeah.
that they're going to apply because they have that long term vision in mind and they're really connected to their purpose. So let's now you got me curious around those fundamentals that you mentioned. So can we dive into each of those for our audience, maybe to start off with?
Yeah, no, a pleasure to do that. Well, the first one is one of my favorites, probably our favorite, which is financial freedom. And this is the idea. It's defined differently for different people. But for me, financial freedom means there's enough money coming in passively that all of your expenses are taken care of. And when you have that situation in place, work becomes optional. So you get to do the work that is most meaningful for you, that you actually get up and are excited to do on a daily basis. So financial freedom is the central point for us and what we're trying to create for people in short order, in record time.
Mm, absolutely. So then how do we do it in record time? Now, what is it that you know that we don't know?
Well, I started questioning years ago, Ilona, some of the common consistent financial wisdom that's spewed out there, and things like, oh, everyone has to have 6 to 12 months worth of living expenses in the bank before they start investing. That people should not pay off their mortgage because it's the cheapest money you'll ever get. Right? I hear that a lot when people have a 2 or 3% mortgage rate. I started questioning this idea that investing in the stock market for the better part of 30 or 40 years in hopes that one day, hopefully, you'll have enough money to retire. I questioned all of those ideas. And in questioning them, I started to realize there was a different way, sometimes better way for some people. In some cases, some people were like, not for me, and that's all right as well. But what I found was a model where we could not only increase the amount of equity that we have in our properties, whether it's our primary residence or rental properties, commercial buildings, et cetera. But we could also then minimize the amount of interest that we're paying on those to bankers, which essentially negates our ability to build net worth. And then we could take the equity that we've created in our properties and start to invest that in very strategic ways to create my favorite thing, which is massive, passive, permanent streams of income.
Mm. Talk about innovation, right? There's always a better way to problem solve it, and in society and overall. And I love that you kind of are challenging conventional education, right, around
Yeah.
financial freedom and the way that we've probably all heard and learned it. So, and then I'm assuming that's why you also, came up with a shred method. So, tell me a little bit more around that process. Like, what is the shred method exactly?
Yeah. Well, and before I describe it, we sort of operate under the philosophy that there are two great expenses that we will all have in life. And the number one greatest expense is taxes. And when you incorporate taxes, we're looking at income tax, property tax, business tax, gas tax, taxes on what we buy and purchase on a daily basis. What we drink and eat is taxed. So there's so much that we spend in taxes. One of the best ways to minimize that, obviously, as you know, is to become a business owner and or a real estate investor. But the second greatest expense that we have in life is the interest expense on debt. And most of us don't pay much attention to that, particularly if we're a business owner, a property owner, a real estate investor. We look at that as, well, that's just a cost of us doing business. We pay interest on the amounts we borrow. And what we started doing with the shred method is figuring out there is a way to leverage your income that you're already making in a much more efficient way to keep the velocity of money rolling that allows you to minimize the interest expense on your debt. And so the shred method is basically a somewhat complex algorithm that shows people how to create efficiencies with their income, whether that's through their business or through their personal economy, through their checking account.
Mm. Well, that's so smart, and I think how easy is it to use? Like, what would be the process to get started with it?
Well, the key to this working is that we have what we call a shred account, but what you might call, and your listeners might know of as a HELOC, home equity line of credit. It could also be a BLOC, a business line of credit, or a PLOC, a personal line of credit. And that what we call the shred account is basically known in other circles as a sweep account. And that sweep account is where all of our income goes. And our software is accurately tracking how much income is coming in, how much in expenses is going out, what the debts are that we're paying off, and the interest rates on those debts. And it's through the algorithm in the software, it will tell our users when to send lump sum payments from their line of credit against some of their amortized debts, like their mortgage, their business loans, their commercial loans, et cetera. And the end result is twofold. Number one, we're borrowing in really short bursts. And by borrowing in short bursts of time, the interest expense on it is very negligible. I mean, we're talking about dollars, maybe tens of dollars a month in interest. But when we send those lump sum payments to the right debts, we're offsetting tens of thousands of dollars worth of interest that we would have otherwise paid to those debts. And what we found is that the majority of our shredders will have their mortgage completely paid off in somewhere around 4.2 to 4.7 years. We say 3 to 7, 3 years to 7 years, depending on someone's income and discretionary income. But for the most part, we can create some level of financial freedom, bringing down expenses, increasing equity in months, not years.
Hmm. Talking about working smart and not hard and being very
Yeah.
intentional with probably things that we are already doing. So it seems like you already have a very streamlined process for people that are looking to do just that, right? Create financial freedom and then diversify their income streams and all the things that we have going on as entrepreneurs and CEOs. So yeah, I love that. I think that's very, very smart. And as visionaries and entrepreneurs, it's at our blood to look for ways that for gaps, really, for gaps in the market and for gaps in problem solving in our daily lives, or whether it's personal or professional, and then bringing something to market that's obviously meeting a lot of those needs as well. So, Adam, I'd love to get a little bit behind your purpose around how did you actually get here? What were some of the most meaningful moments that led you to kind of problem solve this problem for other people today?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't say that, when I started out in my career, I was a debt statistic. So I had dug myself a very deep hole, let's just call it that. And I realized that the amount of pressure and stress and anxiety that I had in my life because of the debt that I had created was causing my life to suffer. And so very early on, I learned a lot of lessons around how to blast away debt in short order. And then I started realizing I was in the mortgage world for a number of years, Lona. And as a mortgage broker, what I realized was I had two ways of making money. I could help someone get a mortgage on a new home, or I could refinance a mortgage on an existing home, an existing loan. And the reality of refinances, which I did a number of for a very long time, is that we just reset the needle back to zero whenever there's a refinance.
Mhm.
And that the first 3 to 5 years of a mortgage, the lion's share of those payments are interest. So what we were doing under the guise of helping our clients lower their payment or make life a little bit easier, all we were doing was keeping them mired in debt even longer. And when I was introduced to this concept and then dug really deep into how it works, and we've pioneered some ideas and advanced some of the methodologies around it, what I realized was I could help people create that financial freedom that I talked about earlier. And the way I was doing that was decreasing their monthly expenses rapidly, increasing the amount of equity they had in their property, and then showing them, once you've done that, now let's go create other streams of income that just cover your monthly expenses. And the challenge that I was finding for most people was they didn't have an income problem. You know, we're underwritten by the banks for what we can afford. But what most people had was a liquidity problem. They didn't have enough money left over at the end of the month to fill that hole in that they had created for themselves. And so the shred method solves that for people. So deep down for me, the purpose is helping people realize that the life that they most want is not that far away. It's literally 12 to 36 months away. We can create an environment for you that financially works, that allows you to do work you're passionate about, removes a lot of the financial stress. And I found that, you know, when you remove the biggest stressor for most people, which is money, marriages improve, relationships with children improve, your health improves, you get to go do the things you want to do, and happiness improves in your life. I mean, there are just so many downstream effects to what we do. I feel like I'm just making a massive impact on our clients and those we teach this method to.
Yeah, we're very aligned, because I always say the same thing with helping, companies scale, that the right people with the right values, that have enough money as a tool and know how to smartly invest it and also contribute towards causes and other things and things they're passionate about, only, amplifies the impact that they get to have in the world. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you that it's very smart to learn and align ourselves with the right people, the right tools, the right opportunities, so that we know what are the right decisions to make at whatever phase and stage that we're in, so
Yeah.
that we can move further faster with our visions. And yeah, just like anything, money, gives you freedom. Is that tool that then, you can be more conscious around where you're putting your time, because you realize very fast that time is the other very valuable asset that we all have, and it's not in abundance, unfortunately, right? That
Yes.
means just you don't get back the last 24 hours that pass. So yeah, and I'm not surprised that your purpose also stemmed from pain, much like mine, and probably a lot of people that have chosen the work that they're doing in the world and what
Yeah.
they're building and the way they're innovating. Adam, to close out and to actually just finalize our beautiful conversation today, I would like to ask you for maybe a few wealth building fundamentals that you've also seen in your experience, personal and professional, that you could share with our audience today. So maybe, I don't know, 3 fundamentals to wealth building that you feel like, okay, these this clarity, these patterns is what I've seen, that you
Yeah.
can maybe articulate for us today as well.
Well, I love that. I really, really like this question because I've been given some piece of advice throughout the years, and it's almost like foundational guidance around how to build wealth. And so there is a common idea that it's easier to make it than it is to keep it. And it's easier to keep it than it is to grow it. And when you break these down, making money just requires action. You and I could go make money today if we wanted to. We just have to go take action on whatever it is we do, the value we provide. And we could theoretically go create that, whether that's consulting, coaching, selling a product, whatever it is, we have to take action. To keep the money, it requires different behavior. And this is where most people fall down, is they probably make decent money, they make good money, but their behavior doesn't allow them to keep enough to actually then take the next step, which is grow it. So, when folks say, man, if I could only make a little bit more money, then I'd be ahead, they're missing one fatal flaw, which is if their behavior doesn't support keeping it, they'll never have money no matter how much money they make, right? And then the last step of this game is growing it. And to grow your wealth requires information and education, learning from people like yourself and other professionals in the industry. So make, keep, grow in that order is really important, but it's more important to think about action, behavior, and education in the process of taking those 3 steps. So that's my first clue. My second tidbit would be this: that the simplest way to create massive wealth is to create a spread between what you earn and what you spend for as long as humanly possible. Because when you create a gap between what you earn and what you spend, and you do that for a very long time, building wealth is inevitable. They say that to go from 100,000 to 110,000 takes a lot of work, but to go from 100 million to 110 million just takes time. And so, all we're doing is we're figuring out a way to begin stacking our funds and creating a wealth. I like to think of it as a wealth mountain. And the bigger the mountain that's created, the larger the mountain gets to scale to. It just requires a little bit of time and long-term thinking. And so that's the third piece, is that we have to approach wealth building from a long-term mindset. That there's a lot of get rich quick out there in the world today. We are a microwave culture. We want it all in 30 seconds or a minute. We don't want to wait. But I found the wealthiest individuals I've ever met did it over an extended period of time. And they didn't do today's actions for tomorrow. They did today's actions for 10 years from now, because that's when they were going to see the greatest impact on the revenue they generated or the lives they impacted, as an example. So if anything, those are the 3 tidbits I would share.
Nothing to add. Mic drop for sure. Definitely principles for life and business as well, not only wealth, because it all connects together anyway at the end of the day. And Adam, thank you so much for everything you just shared with us and all the amazing work that you're doing out there to serve others. I would love to ask you, where is it that the audience can, at least we started this conversation, further continue this conversation with you today?
Well, if you are at all intrigued by the shred method and what we've taught there, we have a very simple calculator at theshredmethod.com, where you can plug in some of your numbers and it will kick out how quickly you could be out of debt and how much interest you might save in the process. But what I would say is, if you take 10 or 20 minutes and visit with one of our coaches, we'll actually do a deep dive in your finances and help identify what is the strategy you could use to build that financial freedom in record time. And we love helping people in that way. Whether you become a client or not, we're here to educate. So theshredmethod.com is the best website to go to.
All right. I definitely encourage everyone to go check it out. I know I will right after. Thank you so much, Adam, for everything that you do and everything that you shared with us today. And thank you so much for being here.
Elona, thank you. And thanks for doing what you do. It's super important work.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you for always supporting the show. So don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review so that more amazing purpose-driven entrepreneurs can find this work and these conversations and these amazing guests that always join us. We also have a few sponsor spots available, so reach out if you're interested in learning more. Thanks so much and stay blessed. I'll see you next time with another amazing guest and conversation. Bye, everybody. Hello, dear loyal podcast listeners. Thank you so much for your attention and the support that you give to our podcast. In addition to the shows that we bring upon you on this podcast, I would love to introduce you to a couple of books that I've authored in case these books can be the next legacy product that you need to surround yourself with to align your life and business and scale your purpose and profits. The first book that I've authored is called Connecting the Dots Backwards. And this book will help you connect the vision between your past, your present, and your future so that you can have that clarity of purpose, so that you can really align your entrepreneurship journey with the purpose that you are feeling called to be able to serve others in the world. That's my first book. The next book is Purpose Driven Entrepreneurship. This book has my legacy framework of connecting the dots between your branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team in your company so that you align your purpose and your profit, and your company can be a self-led company beyond its owner. The next book that I've authored is called Visionary Purpose-Driven Leadership, and this book will help you scale your purpose and profit at the next level, where you are trading your time and utilizing the money so that you can buy back time in your company, but also grow company that is really creating impact in the world. So this book will absolutely